Okay. Here we go, back again, another week on AEZ All Elite Zone Canada, episode 41. 41 already. It's amazing, and I'm back here with the bearded. What did you call yourself? Oh, the bearded MJF this week. Great, Adam Galaxy. How are you doing, sir? How's your week?
It's good. It's good. Starting a new job this week. It's going good, so I'm excited. And we had a great pay-per-view on Sunday. I'm very excited to talk about it.
We sure did. That was a good one. That's obviously going to be a theme of the show today. As our last episode, we did our predictions. I don't know if any of them really came true. I think some of them did, and it's always fun to do the predictions. So that was great, and I thought it was a really good pay-per-view. And we'll dive into that. It's a little easier for you, Adam. You're on Central Time, so it's an hour earlier for you. But I was going on midnight. I was exhausted, at Central Time. I had to actually just kind of catch up on the last match there, the Anarchy in the Arena. I had to catch that on clips, but I was able to catch most of the show. I know, and I did miss a couple of the 0 hour buy-in hour, which always had some really good matches. That's unfortunate. I always end up kind of missing those, but it's great. But anyways, thanks everyone who's tuned in again today. Really appreciate it. Thanks for watching. And again, we always appreciate any comments that you want to add into the chat. We'll always we'll look at those and discuss those. So thanks very much. So I know, Adam, you mentioned that Connor unfortunately couldn't be here tonight, but he at least wanted to. We wanted to show a little clip, some of his review and what his thoughts were from the pay-per-view. So if you want to go on, we can start with Connor's reactions and some of his review from the show from this past weekend.
Absolutely.
Hey everyone, I just wanted to stop by and give you guys my thoughts on AEW Double or Nothing 2024. Unfortunately, I had a family emergency, so I cannot be on tonight, but I still wanted to pop in and tell you guys what I thought about it. I thought the pay-per-view was pretty good. Not the best pay-per-view and not the worst. All Out 2020 still is the worst AEW pay-per-view of all time, but this pay-per-view was a pretty good pay-per-view. I thought Dynasty and Revolution was better, but my favorite matches of the night was Ospreay and Strong. Ospreay winning his first AEW his first AEW title. He won the international title. And if you ask me, that was probably the first title that he should have won. He will be a world champion one day. I think everyone knows that. But him winning the international title is a good first step. And the international title just fits him. He can take it to Japan. He can take it to the UK. He lives in the UK. He can take it everywhere, like Pac did. I like that match. The matches I didn't like, Trent versus Orange Cassidy, I thought was pointless. Orange Cassidy won. He's beaten Trent twice now in a row, so that kind of killed his heel momentum completely. I don't know where to go from that there. They really don't. I don't know how they continue a heel run with him since they've kind of buried him. The Jericho match, I could have cared less who'd have won that. I was just ready for it to be over with. Moxley and the Kesha, it was a pretty good match, but Moxley wins everything. He never puts anyone over. Like, everyone wants to blame Malachi for, never putting anybody over, but I never see Moxley putting anybody over. The only people who's beaten him is bigger names like Punk and MJF and guys like that. He never really puts, singles-wise, he never really puts anybody over. I do like Moxley, but I'm just tired of him always winning. He beat Nakeshita, of course, and the match was a eliminator match. Nobody wins eliminator matches, and they put it an eliminator match on a pay-per-view, so you would expect it to be an upset, like someone actually wins an eliminator match, but no, Moxley wins. I felt a lot of these matches were predictable. Mercedes and Willow was very predictable. They wasn't going to have Mercedes lose her first match, and I didn't really like the decision. A lot of people are, really proud of that, but she hasn't really done anything in AEW. She's just talked. She did pretty decent in the ring. Her finisher was a bit rough, but it was a decent match. I thought Toni Storm and Serena Deeb was the best women's match of the entire night. I knew Toni Storm was going to win, but out of the women's matches, they had the best women's match of the night. On the pre-show, Rosa and Purrazzo had a really good match as well. Christian Cage and Swerve was a really good match. Edge and Malachi Black was a very, very good match. That was probably my favorite match of the entire show. Very, very good match. I wish Malachi would have won. Don't know where they go now with him. His contract does expire in July, but the AEW may add time onto his contract. But at this point, if they have no plans to use him as a singles wrestler, I would rather see him go back to WWE. Not that I don't want to see him in AEW, but if they're just going to waste his talent, I'd rather see him go somewhere else where he might have a better shot of getting booked better as a singles wrestler. He's done the trios thing. He's done tag with Brody. He needs to do some more single stuff at AEW, and I think that match at Double or Nothing proved that he can still go as a singles wrestler. And him and Edge had a very amazing match, a classic match that will be talked about for a long time, I feel like. And news coming out today, which you guys will probably talk about. Edge, I'm not going to call him Adam Copeland, but Edge did break his foot or ankle during the match when he was on the top rope. Not top of the cage and came down. He did break his foot. And he is supposed to be out for 4 to 6 months. So he possibly might vacate the TNT Championship. I do not want to see an interim champion. I'd rather see Michael Nagasawa win that title before an interim champion. But Malachi proved he can still go as a singles wrestler. So if they're adding time to his contract and he has to stay, put the TNT title on Malachi Black. I'm sure he can have more good singles matches and really good storytelling. I thought Swerve and Christian Cage was really good. The main event was really good as well. I wish they would have had a little bit something, like a big cliffhanger or something to leave you wondering. But it was a very good Anarchy in the Arena. I think that Anarchy in the Arena should retire the match itself. They can bring it back down the line, but I feel like they've done what they could with that. That was a perfect way to end the trilogy of the Anarchy in the Arena. It was very good. Lots of spots we haven't seen in AEW, like Jack Perry lit on fire. But I thought it was a really good pay-per-view. I shouldn't say really good. Just on the sugarcoat, I guess. But I thought it was a pretty good pay-per-view. If I had to rate it on a scale 1 to 10, I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. I did give it a 6.9 out of 10 originally, but the return of MJF kind of boosted it a little bit. I would go with the higher, but a lot of the matches were predictable, and a lot of the people that should have won didn't, like Trent and Takeshita. Malachi really needed that win, because now they've buried the entire House of Black. Edge has beaten all 3 members, and I don't know where they take the group now from there. Without Malachi, the group never would have gotten as big as it has. But 7.5 out of 10 for me. I will be trying getting the chat with you guys. But yeah, I'll hand it over to Matt and Adam.
Yeah, no, good review, Connor. I don't know what happened, but Matt has lost some devices. Hopefully, once he gets that back, we can get him. I guess I'll try to fill in here. Yeah, no, some good comments from Connor. Honestly, our fearless leader here at AEZ, and so yeah, that's a lot to digest. So there's a lot of stuff to talk about over that pay-per-view. And again, if you're just joining us here, guys, thank you guys for joining us. We are talking Double or Nothing from Sunday for AEW. It was their 6th edition, basically. So it's what they started with as a company. So very excited to see it keep moving forward. And so, going match card, I think will be really good to talk about it. And, but yeah, no. So a lot to take in from what Connor had said. I do believe up and down the card, a lot of stuff was predictable, but there were some moments that was still exciting to see from top to bottom. I do like the fact that some of the matches on the pre-show were pretty decent. Like Connor said, the Thunder Rosa Deonna Purrazzo match was decent. It was a really good women's match, and so I was very excited to see it. Oh, okay. Well, let me get back to you guys because Matt is having some difficulties, internet difficulties, and so yep. Okay, yep. Is he has to update and restart, but he will be back, guys. So I am gonna let him know that I will follow through with everything. So yeah, so going up and down the card, yes, I agree with Connor. There was a lot of stuff that was very predictable, but also really good. If you guys give me a second, I will pull up the card again. While I do that, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the comments that all of you guys are sharing as we go over the card. Some of you had responded to it. Hey, Connor, yes. Davis, love the background dudes and my Hogan voice. That very good Hogan voice. I can hear it in my head, so that's good. Yes, first match. Morgan, yes, Mox does seem like he always wins. I don't know why he doesn't put more people over. And someone like Takesha really did need that win very badly. And then they could have have him lose the rematch for the title. They didn't have to have him lose it basically in the first match, the eliminator match. So, but all right, there we go. So, but yes, I agree. Yes, Malachi should have won. Yes, considering Copeland is hurt. Yes, I agree. Oh, he's back! Yay!
I have no idea what happened there. Sorry, guys.
Yes, no, it's okay. Just going through some comments while you were coming back. So.
Oh, good.
But yes, our fearless leader is back. So Matt, go ahead, take it away with your thoughts on the video and where you want to go from there.
Yeah, so I was going to say thank you, Connor, for the review, and I was kind of distracted by your great collection in the background there of figures. I'm a big collector of figures myself. Not of the AEW, but I love and definitely appreciate that. So thanks very much. And again, I know you had a family emergency, so our thoughts and prayers are with you on that, Connor.
You got deleted from the other universe, Matt. That's what Morgan said.
Yeah, I did. I didn't know what happened. I didn't even know it was me. The camera
there you
goes
go.
out.
Matt's alive. There you go.
Yes. Thanks. I'm back. I made it. Big puff of smoke behind me here, right? You can see in the background. So it's great. So thanks, guys. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties, but I didn't really get to see the buy-in matches. I'm not sure if you did. So I missed the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass, defeating Cage of Agony. I guess Cage and the Gates of Agony. Did you see that one? That's the one I missed. That one.
The only thing I saw from that is because I had to step away for a bit because I missed that match. But from what I remember from videos, is people sharing the video of Anthony Bowens like trying to scissor someone in the crowd, and the girl handing her like an envelope and then throwing it on the ground. I don't know what the deal is with that. So it was like something weird that was caught on camera, and someone like kind of pointed it out. Really? So I don't know. That's the only thing I saw from that, and then I stepped away.
Yeah. So again, I was just looking at some of the reads. I'm looking at a site that gives it the match's rating, and they put that as a C+. So I guess I can't really comment either way. I love the Gates of Agony, and so I would like to see that. I'm a big fan of those guys. I think you are as well. And they've been getting some good play, that Cage and that Gates of Agony. So that was good to see. And the other one on the buy-in was the ladies match. I know that Connor had mentioned it and really liked that one, the Virtuoso defeating Thunder Rosa. So yeah, I think we had mentioned before, we kind of said like, hey, remember our last show kind of mentioned like, where is the Virtuoso? I mean, she came in hot and heavy, and then just like the rest of the women's division, it gets a little deflated, right? They don't really go with the keep it up. So anyways, I was going to see them both on the pay-per-view. And AEW is always pretty good about putting some decent matches on the buy-in there. But I guess we to start the show, and again, I wish Adam I could remember what all my predictions were, and I can't remember if we talked about and said, hey, because was it Roderick and Ospreay that started the pay-per-view? And I can't remember, for some reason, I think if we had said, hey, that we could see that match starting the pay-per-view.
We did.
Yeah, so okay, so at least I think we're right on that one. Again, very entertaining. We knew it was going to be entertaining. And again, when Roderick gets a chance to wrestle guys like an Ospreay, I really think that he steps up, and you get to see what he can do and working with a guy that can make you look so good. And I think Roderick makes guys look good as well. So I thought it was a good match. I liked some of the interference, that happened there. I guess one thing I didn't care much for was, Wardlow being in the ring, and he's at Ospreay about to, power bomb him. And then the ref turns around and he's just like, hey, again, that really should have been a DQ, but I see there's some flexibility with the, with the rules, right, when it comes to the entertainment purposes. So, but anyways, I thought it was a great match. I was kind of hoping, because I know we talked about it, and I had mentioned, I could see maybe this could have been Ospreay's first loss. He won his first title at Wembley. Obviously not the case, and they've got a huge build-up, and they're really building this guy up. And it was kind of a shame. I don't think if it was for Ospreay, Roderick would have had the title a little longer. But you know what? The crowd went nuts, and you're going to keep a guy happy like that, put the title on him. You're not going to. It's not a bad thing, right? I mean, he's hot, and the crowd, has that. Everyone's chanting his name. So again, he's going to be a really popular champion, and maybe it was a good time. It'd be interesting what happens though, right? So if he has this belt going into Wembley, and I know people are already saying, like, I already read some comments online going like, he's supposed to be one of your headliners, the top of the food chain, and if you've got a mid-card belt on him. Well, again, I don't think there's anything wrong with starting. Look how many guys in WWE, the history of the Intercontinental title. You actually build prestige with a title when you have guys like that hold the title. Again, I think I brought up like a John Cena running with a U.S. title, right? There's no shame in it. There's nothing wrong with building up and moving up and moving up. And, something like that. He's new to the company. We'll have him build up. And now he can make that title prestigious, right? So I don't see it as a wrong, and when it's time, he's already been a champion. So boom, then he's even has more legitimacy in AEW. Like, he's earned it when he gets into that title picture for the heavyweight championship. Then it'll be that well-deserved move up the ladder. And I don't think he's above that as a competitor. So he holds more belts. I don't personally see anything wrong with it. Adam, I don't know what your opinion on that is, and what you thought of the match actually as well.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm glad that it did start. I was hoping for a 30-minute go. It only lasted about 17 minutes. Wish it was longer, because I'm pretty sure those two could have gone longer. But I understand why it was shortened, just because there's so much to put on the card with everything else, with both a return and the other other matches on the card. I love this move. I love this move so much. I think it's a good stepping stone for Will Ospreay, for someone that was signed to AEW, that they put a lot of investment in to kind of help boost this company and put this company on the forefront, and a big name like that. And to put that title on him, to, like you said, make it more prestigious, having the challengers coming on, because now whoever beats Ospreay is a made person. They're a made man. Because Ospreay now, even though we say the world title is the top of the food chain, that title is now going to be the appetizer for the world title. I mean, that international title, that they make it, if you think about terms of meals, the appetizer is that international title, because you munch at it. It's something you want, because that's a step to the world heavyweight title. Mm-hmm. And putting it on someone like Ospreay, who so talented, and if anybody watched his promo after he won it, when he's sitting on the steps, he calls out dozens of promotions. He calls out New Japan. He calls out CMLL. He calls out a lot of different promotions, and say, I'm making this title what it's going to be against all those people in those companies. He even joked and said Stardom, but I don't think they'll let me do that. So, or something about, wrestling the women. I don't think they're ready for that. But yeah, no, I think this is a smart move. I think putting it on him, having him run with it at Wembley, and have a good solid match at Wembley. Obviously, he's going to have a great matchup at Forbidden Door, which is going to be the next pay-per-view. So, I mean, that's going to set up really well. And I actually want to respond to someone in the comments because this question kind of is going to be part of my conversation about Will Ospreay. When does MCMG, Motor City Machine Gun, show up? How crazy would it be if he continues feuding with the Undisputed Kingdom? Because remember, Roderick can get that rematch if he wanted to. And he's got Matt and, Mike or Matt Taven, and he has them with them.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to eat. Ospreay's got to even the numbers. I don't think he's with Don Callis anymore. That's for sure. I think they'll move on with that. It's like AEW. They'll forget that he was part of that. And what if MCMG shows up to rescue him from a beatdown from that team, and they join sides with Will Ospreay? And you have Will Ospreay as partners, yeah.
And before I didn't know that. I wasn't following like that if they were together as a group.
No. See, that's the thing. Like, they don't mention if Ospreay is completely with the Don Callis. They kind of like moved away from it. Like, they don't explain if Ospreay is still part of the group. Like, that group is so in disarray that you don't know who's in it anymore. The only person is close to Don Callis is Takesha, and that's it. But it's like Ospreay's kind of like, now that he's won that title, like, it's almost like he should be on his own, but have a team show up that protects him from a beatdown from Undisputed Kingdom, like the Motor Machine Guns, and have those three just do trios matches together would be awesome. That would be amazing. So yeah, no, I thoroughly enjoy this part of putting the international title on Will Ospreay. Bruv.
Yeah, no, it's great. And it makes sense. He's hot, and I think they've got a great set of champions all around right now, and really worthy guys, right? Like Okada, but he's got the international, right? And
he's got Continental,
right? So okay, so yeah, so like there's some good champions, right? And I think these are the champions of the guys that have the belts right now are all carrying them well, right? So I don't think any of them are the ones like, well, they put it on, they're putting a belt on. Like WWE was always great for, well, let's put the belt on them to try and boost them, as opposed to them making the title, right? Like WWE was like Liv Morgan, for example, who just won the title off of Becky Lynch, the pay-per-view from Saudi Arabia on Saturday. I just don't really buy her personally as a champion. So I kind of feel it's one of those things that the championship is trying to make her more popular as opposed to the opposite, right? So, but I mean, Don Callis and he showed up in the match, and you could see he got in the ear, and he was like, "Do it, give him the move." What's the
Hidden Blade?
The one,
the other one.
The one he's retired.
I think it's Tiger Driver.
Yeah, maybe. The Tiger Drive. Yeah,
I think that's what it is.
So then you can see he's like, just do it, right? So it's interesting to see where it goes, because so Don Callis is there. He was on commentary. He's still out there. So it'd be interesting to see where that goes. Like, I know it's your point, but they haven't officially moved away, right? It's not. So it's interesting how they're going to play. I would love to see. I'm still hoping eventually that we're going to see Ospreay and Aussie Open. I liked them as a trios group, but I guess the one guy, he's still hurt.
Mm-hmm.
The partner, Kyle Fletcher. Yeah. So I guess we'll see you there. But yeah, that was an entertaining match. Always an entertaining match with Ospreay for sure. I was surprised to see, and actually really glad to see, and I thought it was a really good match, was the Bang Bang Gang versus Death Triangle. And I loved seeing Death Triangle back together, and I loved them seeing the matching colors. So that was great. That's the kind of match. These are the kind of matches you need for the trios title, right? And I loved seeing that. Obviously you're going to get some great moves, great spots, and again the biggest spot that got the biggest pop, that we saw the return of Juice Robinson when he knocked Pac off the top rope there to give the Bang Bang Gang that was a pretty big win. Again, I know we were talking about some surprises, what we're going to see. I wasn't necessarily expecting to see Juice Robinson back yet, so that was a pretty cool. And he looks like a crazy wild man with the hair and the beard, right? So, but yeah, so it'll be interesting now that they're going to have that group back and they've got the foursome back, so that'll be interesting. How'd you like this match? And how did you
I
like
loved
the,
it.
the surprise?
I'm with you on that. That's exactly how a trios titles match should go. The teams like that, and I want to see Tony Khan build on momentum of that, and get the trios titles to mean something again. Just because when they were introduced, they were hot commodity, and it seems like they fizzled out with where they are in the background now. You know, obviously, the Acclaimed had them and like changed them to pink, and you kind of saw them in the background. They really weren't defended much, and it was just you didn't know. And then you put in a group with the Bang Bang Gang, and then it became a whole mess. And then they win the titles, and it's like cool. Hopefully, they start defending them, and they did, and they put them on a pay-per-view card, which is exactly where you're supposed to put a title like those titles like that. If you're going to introduce a title that you're trying to push, you put it on a pay-per-view card to be defended. So I'm actually glad that happened. Again, this is one of the matches that probably could have gone longer, but with the time they were given, there were some good spots. Obviously, I always love the assisted pile driver from Ray to Penta from the top rope. I always love that one. And there was a lot of good back and forth in that match, and everything like that. So I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. These matches, I'm glad it wasn't on the buy-in. Like these guys are all great competitors, and that was a big. I think that was a big pin that that Switchblade got over Pac, which I think it's going to potentially keep this build up. I think this is good. I would like to see more rivalry. I love Death Triangle. I love all those guys. I'm a big fan. And as long as I do like the Bang Bang. I keep on saying the Scissor Gang because they just got so used to that. But again, we're going to see. I think you're going to see a lot more prime time with these guys now that Juice Robinson's back, and he's a bit of a character, right? So I think it's time.
And I am glad that the Juice is back. I really am. I did like Juice Robinson, so I'm glad he's back. He's put so much character in that group, and I love it.
I agree. So I guess maybe it was one of those things that they were waiting for him to come back, kind of like we were talking about when we kept on saying like, "Where's Adam Cole? What's going on?" Obviously, now we see he comes back. And then boom, right? We see the place go ballistic for, he's our scumbag. MJF comes back, and lo and behold, he is wearing his throwback there to Triple H when Triple H came back after I think tearing up his quad. I think that was the big pop that he got there with the jean jacket and the leather. Which is good. He came back, gave a big promo, lots of swearing, kind of reiterating, I'm not going anywhere, showed off his AEW tattoo, which that's pretty big, actually. You're willing to stamp it. So that was good. It was a nice pop. I wasn't sure if I was expecting MJF. I think they did a pretty good job of keeping things under wrap for who to expect coming back, as opposed to sometimes you kind of hear, oh yeah, this guy's definitely coming back, or this girl's definitely coming back, but I didn't really hear much. I think they did a really good job of keeping it under wraps. But again, great promo, and it made sense. So obviously they're going to start back up, and everyone is now ready. And we're going to see Adam Cole back, I think, in the spotlight with MJF. Now I know we were chatting about this during the pay-per-view. And you had mentioned like, hey, this we could see, MJF or actually Adam Cole getting the title off of Swerve and then having MJF chase him to win it back. My viewpoint was, I think they could run with this. I don't think this storyline needs a title per se. I think you could leave Swerve to continue to build up his character and his stock in the company. And as a champion, let these guys go at it. They can have great matches, to finish off. And then MJF, I can see MJF doing a run with Swerve and building up MJF and Swerve. But I think you need to also keep on building Swerve up. So then when it comes to those guys, I'd like to see that as opposed to an Adam Cole and Swerve. But I don't know. I mean, again, very good point, and you could be totally right that they might go that route as well. Yeah, how did you like the promo? And do you remember what he the line, the famous line that he said there?
Our fearless scumbag leader is back, and yes, says I don't need a New Japan or a Vince McMahon to make MJF. That was the big line there.
Yeah.
I love his attitude. I will say this: I am gonna call out the trolls out there of saying, "Oh, look, he's trying to impersonate Triple H, a WWE fanboy." Blah blah. No, what MJF is doing is honoring someone he respects. He understands the industry more than anybody, and he's only like 27. And he understands the business about respecting people in the industry. And that was his respect to Triple H, And so I think that was a really cool callback. I think the video was awesome. I think his entrance was great. I think his promo was great. The fact that he said he's not being Mr. Nice, Mr. No more kangaroo kick, none of this. It's serious MJF. That's the character of MJF that the people need. As much as they love the whole kangaroo kick, like I'm this way, I'm in between. No, this is the badass Steve Austin 316 kind of turn of MJF. This is what we need. And thinking about the last couple of days of the conversation you and I had about, how they continue with this story with him and Adam Cole, looking back on it, I kind of lean towards your agreement where they don't need a title. As much as I think that would be a great program for Adam Cole to have the title and MJF chase, I think this is kind of build-up of a Triple H Shawn Michaels feud where there's no titles involved, but they had multiple matches, one of which was their final match, which was like a 3 stages of hell match, where they had 3 different styles of matches in one. And so I can kind of see that happening with MJF and Adam Cole, where they go back and forth. They have one match, Cole wins somehow by cheating, MJF wins the next one, or, vice versa. And they have one big payoff match, whether it be like, a steel cage match or like a big match like that, or lights out. Lights out is one of the big ones that they do in AEW. So, I mean, something like a lights out match to officially end that feud and have them go into separate stories. So I do like the idea of them having a series of matches kind of to continue their feud, as well as something like we saw with Strickland and Hangman Adam Page. Their feud was very good without the title. That was probably one of the Hangman's better feuds he's ever had in AEW, and it didn't have a title involved. So I kind of go with you. I kind of see this feud. Love to see like a multitude of matches ending with one big gimmicky match just to end the feud.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this could set up. Yeah, you could do. Yeah, to your point there. Without the title, you could have the gimmicky matches, just like you said, like with Swerve and Hangman. Now, I don't think we need another Texas death match necessarily, but I could see a cage match. I could see like a no hold bar or no DQ. Definitely some kind of gimmicky matches there to really push this feud. So anyways, yeah. So we'll see what happens, right? I'm sure they're all going to be entertaining, and I wonder. I could see them. Could you see them building up to a big match between the two of them at Wembley as like the end, the feud, like keep this going on to the summer? Or do you see one of these guys in a title position? You know what I mean? So
I think the big payoff is because they had such a successful title match at Wembley last year. I think they run it back with just a regular match, or like I said, one of the gimmicky matches where at Forbidden Door, like they either wrestle each other or wrestle against New Japan, and either one of them costs each other the match, whatever. And then on like a Dynamite they have a match, and then and Adam Cole cheats, and then finally like All In, MJF's like, I had enough of this, shit. Like, we're gonna end this one way or another and have some big gimmicky match at All In. Since he says, when they said the biggest main event and Wembley history is you and me AEW title, can run it back and said running it back from a year ago where it all started, Wembley Stadium, you and me, and such and such match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it'll be good. So yeah, it's interesting. Again, there's so many different, there's so many angles with an AEW. We can go on forever and just come up with all our theories, but that's part of the fun, right? That's all part of the fun and excitement of professional wrestling today. So again, so the next match to move on was the Professor Serena Deeb taking on the women's champion. We have Toni Storm. But it was an entertaining match. I still love. There's Mariah May and Luther out on the outside, and we had a glimpse of Mariah May almost throwing in the towel. And to me, this is a bit of a lead up to something else. It's going to happen, right? So we'll see what happens there. Some good spots, and like the big spot that I loved was the pile driver, like off of with the second top, like that. If it's not done right, that's gonna be a dangerous move. But Toni Storm's got those thick hips in there, so I think it's just like she was secure. But what I do like? I like that they consistently still keep her pile driver as a finisher.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the fact that it's just a pile driver, but it's the consistency that it ends that keeps it. It's gonna, it'll start deteriorating if they start having a whole bunch of girls start kicking out of the pile driver, and then it loses its luster there. But that's that old school, because she's so old school to her that she's trying to do the character. So the finisher is such an old school move like that. That would have been a finisher back in 1925 or 1930, right? But I don't know. I thought it was an entertaining match. I'm wondering where it's going to go. I just kind of feel what they're doing with, are they building up to have a feud with Mariah May, throwing in a towel eventually too soon, right? You can kind of see this is where it's going. But yeah, what were your thoughts on this match?
I think it was probably one of the better women matches in a while. And that's nothing against I thoroughly enjoyed Deonna versus Toni at, I believe it was Revolution. And I was okay with Rosa and Toni at Dynasty. But this one was a good step up from that one and just even with the one at Revolution. But Toni Storm just every week, she just amazes me. I love her character. I think we mentioned that so much on this show, how much we love her timeless character. I love some of the spots. The fact that the crowd cheering for Toni when Deeb was supposed to be the face and Toni is supposed to be the heel, but the support Toni Storm was getting from that crowd was nuts. And there was some bits in there where you can see kind of Serena playing into that and kind of being heelish, and I love that. I love that when you're wrestling in the ring and hey, I'm the face, they're the heel, but the crowd kind of turns 180 and starts cheering that person and not you kind of go on the fly. You're like, I'll play into this. Like, if this is what they want, let's do it. That's the brilliancy of a professional wrestler that can play from the crowd based on their reaction. And so I think it was brilliant that there was little tidbits in there of Deeb going, all right, cool. You want me to be mean? I'll be mean to her, beating her up, kicking her in the head, like a little tap on the head while she's on her hands and knees. Like, come on, get up, playing with the prey. I love Toni's pile driver. I love it. And you know what? I think because the way she does it so quickly, like it just up and then down, I think it's a combination of both. Hey, this is what's happening when you get to this point in my pile driver, tuck your chin, but also it's so quick that it's done. They roll onto their back, over. Like she does it quick because A, it's going to be safe, and B, it just looks cool the way she does it.
Like
and so I just love the way the pile, and then the one from the top rope was phenomenal. And yes, the way Mariah May was going to throw in the towel, but Luther takes it from her when Toni gets to the rope, and she looks at Luther and throws the towel and says no because she thought it was Luther. It is planting those seeds of where maybe it is Mariah May playing it to where if I can get rid of Luther and just be one-on-one with Toni, this is my time to strike because she doesn't have her butler. So I do like the idea of it building up that way. And then one thing I will say is we talked about it last week on our predictions. The one thing I said I wanted to was to see at least one female wrestler return because there's still Britt Baker out there and there's still Jamie Hayter. So it's like I would have loved to see it when they were celebrating on the ramp, her and Mariah hugging, that you just hear music and both of them sit up at the same time when they hear the music, like twins, just like what, and then turn look at each other and look behind them, and there's like Jamie Hayter or Britt Baker just staring at him. It would have been beautiful, but I understand they had a lot of other stuff going on, so they may be saving those returns for a better time, which is fine. But yeah, the match was a really good match.
Yeah, to your point there, I was just looking on the Bleacher Report. They actually gave the match an A minus. And to your point, though, one of the comments was even though the professor was playing the babyface, the crowd was clearly behind Timeless Tony. It didn't affect how they performed, but it took the wind out of Deeb's sails during her comebacks.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So again, so it's interesting. So again, it's hard. It's like when you get to the point of a heel and you play the heel so good and it's so entertaining. Again, that was the Attitude Era, right? Or you can't help. Or that's actually MJF is a classic example of that, right? He's our scumbag, and he just gives you end up loving it. He's so brutal that you end up loving it. And so again, Tony, the Tony character is like that. And I think they'll really. If there's a heel turn with Mariah May, that will again solidify Tony as a face as well. So I guess we'll have to wait and see about that. Now, and the next match to go on to was the grudge match between former members of Best Friends Cassidy and Beretta, and Orange Cassidy came out to his old entrance music instead of Jane, which I loved. I know we talked about that, and I was like, I would love to see him come out in some black denim, which we got the black T-shirt. Right at the end, I think it was Excalibur making comment to the classic and wearing the black T-shirt, and he had the dark denim on. So, kind of, I think of kind of a prediction. We were kind of like calf there, and I prefer the old theme song. So it was nice to see that he did come out, and I'm fine with it. I'm fine with a bit of change there. And again, we still, Don Callis is still around, and we did have, that is still the looming, right? They keep on kind of hinting at, is he going to be joining the Don Callis family? And of course, Don Callis came out and said, the scoop, my God, here's a scoop for you. He's going to be putting some kind of, Don Callis family contract, and see in front of an Orange Cassidy to see if he's going to join. So, but again, entertaining match. It was good. Again, I know I said I wasn't overly excited about this, but again, I said I know they're going to put on a good show. Trent Beretta is a great wrestler. Not surprised with the win with Orange Cassidy, and but kind of. And I'll let you comment on this, but I know we kind of talked about it. And kind of like, okay, so the way it kind of finished, and Trent Beretta kind of walks off, into the crowd, kind of like frustrated in the sunset, and he's pushing. Romero away, and kind of like, okay, so what? You're already like done, like frustrated. I'm done. Really, like we're already playing that kind of angle. I don't know, but what did you? How did you feel about the match? How did you like Orange Cassidy coming down in some of that old school gear and music, and how the match finished off?
Yeah, I love that they played it and he didn't come out yet. I'm like, wait. What's going on? Did he get attacked by someone? Like, did someone else turn heel and they're going to throw him down to Trent? No, and then the Pixies started playing. I was like, oh, thank you. Old school Pixies, where is my mind? Thank you, AEW. And yeah, he comes out in the dark denim with the black shirt and still gets the same intro by, Justin and everything like that. So it's like, this is the Orange that we wanted. The someone who's lost because he's by himself and he's crazy now. Like, and then playing into the idea of will he or won't he join Don Callis. The match did have some good moments. I do feel this was a missed opportunity to let Trent get that win back to where they can possibly have a rubber match to settle it. But I know for a fact that, with the Hangman Swerve feud, they had Swerve go over Hangman twice, and then Hangman basically costing Swerve the world title as kind of a payback. So it's almost like, well, is Orange Cassidy gonna do something big to where he's about to earn something, and then Trent costs him to where like, nah, I'm gonna make your life a living hell because you kept making my life a living hell. Yeah, the going into the crowd and telling Renee while she's trying to talk, saying, "No, I'm done talking, I'm done," and just walked off.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting angle, and I don't know where they're gonna go with it, especially with Rocky following him, because you're confused. You're like, well, is he still friends with Rocky Romero, even though he's like put Chuck Taylor out? He hates Orange Cassidy, like, and he just pushes away Rocky, but Rocky's still walking with him. What's the deal with that? So it's kind of an interesting story that I'm very intrigued with, because I want to see where they go with Trent now that they had him lose 2 in a row. So it's very interesting to see where that would go.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Oh yeah, and Cassidy, he was wearing his old sunglasses. He wasn't wearing the aviators.
Yeah,
we even had like the darker sunglasses. And Beretta did have some new gear on and some new music. So finally, which is good. I'm glad they did that. It was time, because he'd been coming out to his best friend still. So it's interesting. You're right. It's going to be interesting to see where he goes, because he's now this become kind of a bit of a lost soul. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Breaking news to everybody. As of this evening, crazy appearance. It is official. Ethan Page is in WWE. Just reading some and watching videos. He is on NXT.
Really? Wow. He's on there right now?
He was on there tonight. Yes. Crazy. So that I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to break that news to everybody that Ethan is now in WWE.
Good. I wonder if they're going to team him up with the chairman. Good on them. I think there was a lot of frustration. A lot of people, our group really thought Ethan Page is a great wrestler and was not getting the spots and the timing. So hey, man, he's working, and he gets over the WWE, helps boost. Again, these are the kind of moves that made me get interested in NXT going back 5 years ago. Back when we talked about this, I loved NXT when you had the Undisputed, and you had Kevin Owens, and you had Sami Zayn, and you had Malachi Black or Aleister Black back then. So maybe this is a way of kind of infusing a bit of that indie vibe back into it, right? To kind of mix in with the homegrown talent. So, hey, good for him, man. Yeah. So no, good to hear, and thanks for the update on the breaking news. And hey, interrupt anytime you've got breaking news. That's I have no issue with that. Right. So if we get back to the next match here on the pay-per-view, as we had the Chris Jericho versus Hook versus Shibata, which again, it wasn't far off from your prediction. Remember, you kind of mentioned like, hey, what if, we had all of them in? It was like a 4-way. So you were close. They had like the finisher, so it ended up having, both Hook and Shibata in there. But then we saw, which I thought was a pretty entertaining match. And I do like when they do the spots of, one guy's got a submission move on one, and then the other guy comes over, and then they both, so there's like a train of like submission moves. I always find that's pretty entertaining. You know what? Like, I just don't think, I know AEW just seems they're just always want to have a bag of something, a bag of pucks. There's a bag of dice. It's thumbtacks. You're watching these guys take body drops and stuff on these things. I'm like, and then they're whipping the dice. They were whipping the dice at Jericho, and I think the guys in commentary were almost like ducking from the comments they were making, like Jesus, because they were actually whipping them hard. So again, I'm just kind of like, do we really need to see? And of course, is Jericho the old guy, and does he really need to be getting dropped on dice? So again, entertaining match. Not surprising that we had our Big Bill, kind of come into the ring. So that wasn't surprising. And then we had the again. I can, if you want to touch on that, what you thought about Keith, I guess, coming in, the masked bounty hunter that came into the ring, and I don't know. Do you think the fans were into it, or were they kind of hoping it was somebody else? Or so, what do you think about that? And overall, the match, what do you think?
So this was a hit or miss match for me. I love Shibata. I think he's great, and him being in a match like this kind of brought him down a little bit. I think just technically he's such a good wrestler in the ring without any gimmicky kind of stuff in it. This match was just so sad to watch, especially with Jericho. I know we bring it up every week, but it's at the point where I think Jericho is almost at the end here, where it's like, dude, you should probably just step away, like, because it's just you're becoming kind of a joke of yourself. And that's something. I mean, I have huge respect for Jericho. He's one of my favorite people watch wrestlers watching when I was growing up. When he came to WWE in the Attitude Era, and it's just sad to see him where he's at now. Trying to do another character gimmick in the learning tree and all that stuff, and having these kind of matches. The match itself was a mess, if I'm all honest. It was kind of just bad, from the suplex of hook to Shibata to Jericho on the table that didn't break, to the dice being whipped, to the stupid kendo stick battle in the ring, and finally the near miss severe injury to Big Bill through the table on the outside. If you would watch it, he was maybe that close to the bar that came through the table. Yeah. And when I watched that and saw the bar, I was like, like I cringed, because I saw it drop and then I saw the bar pop and his body next to it. I was like, oh God. I honestly thought that came right out of him. And people were saying like he could have been impaled. I said, not necessarily, because it's the flat. So it wouldn't be pointy to go through him, but that would hurt like hell. When it landed like that, he probably could have broke something. He could have broke his spine and been paralyzed. I don't think he would have been impaled, but he would have been spine injury.
I've never seen that happen with the table spot before.
No, it was the first time I've ever seen a bad table spot like that, and where someone like Big Bill of his size. I understand the spot, but if you were going to go that spot, instead of keeping that table straight like that, angle it. If you're going to do that spot, please angle it a little better. That way it's more middle to where, if you look on the ring where the apron is here and the table here like that, that spells danger right there if you're not done correctly. If they would have angled that table and done that spot, he probably would have been more centered and you probably wouldn't have been worried about it. But yeah, that whole match was a complete mess. And I don't know how I feel about the bounty hunter Brian Keith joining up with Jericho. I understand he was mad because he lost that triple threat match on Wednesday and didn't get to earn the title. But I don't know. I guess, again, we have to trust the process and see where it goes. But for me, that was probably the worst match on the card.
Yeah. So like there were some funny bits, right? Because there's the comedy and they call kendo and they're beating up on Jericho. So there is a bit of that comedy angle that they had there. On the Bleacher Report, they actually gave that match a B. I'm taking it that
I give it a D. I give it a D.
Yeah,
it was bad. It was really bad. The only reason I won't give it is an F because I still have a lot of respect and love for Shibata.
Yeah, no. I thought it was a decent. It was entertaining, right? It was different than everything else, and from an entertainment standpoint, right? It was different. But yeah, the big bill, that was a move that could have gone really bad. So thank God it didn't. So the next match that we have was Takeshita. In the IWGP Championship Eliminator match against Moxley, the current champion. And then O'Connor also touched on this match and kind of was saying the same thing that we've kind of said. And we predicted. I thought, again, if it's an eliminator match, it's not a title match, this would have been the perfect opportunity to let Takeshita take a win on this one to really create some drama for a rematch, right? Maybe on a IWGP, New Japan pay-per-view, and then have Moxley win. So I just don't get it. What was the point of having this to have Moxley win, which means what? Takeshita, that's it. You're limited, so he's not going to get another shot at that title. I know he maybe normally wouldn't because he's not in that promotion. He's in AEW, so it was kind of a win. But I think you're going to start feeling. I mean, we felt that. I think correct me if I'm wrong. If you feel the same way, we're like, okay, are we done with Moxley being so protected and winning everything, even when matches like this would have been perfect, right, to build the drama. And then I did see something I read today that, again, take for a grain of salt, and it's it's on the internet, but it's supposed to be taken from his words from an interview saying that he hasn't been happy since coming to the US to wrestle, which is kind of surprising because, again, you're one of the biggest promotions in North America, getting tons of TV time. He's had some really good matches. So I was a little confused on that, unless it's the unhappiness because of the promise was a little bit different than that's been happening. So that was interesting, but again, it's always a good match. I mean, I know Moxley, we kind of get tired that he's protected and he wins all the time. He does put on a good match for the most part, I think. But we saw him taped up though. Like, is he really injured? I mean, he was really taped up on his shoulder. But he's probably. So I just want to see what. So we had Moxley defeated Takeshita, and the Bleacher Report actually gave this match a B+. What would you give it, and what were your thoughts on this one?
C+, B-. Mostly the C+. I do feel with our prediction last week is justified as far as it just being an eliminator match, and it would not have hurt Moxley whatsoever to take the pin here. Even with maybe a Don Callis interference causing him to lose, even something like that would have been justifiable. And, like you said, the title match could have happened somewhere else. As this could have happened at Forbidden Door. If Takeshita had won this match, he could have, obviously he would have decided when he was going to take the wrestle for the title because he'd won. So it's his choice. He would have said Forbidden Door. So they would have ran this match back at Forbidden Door for the IGP, title. And so, yeah, this is just one of those things where, with Moxley, you have someone like in AEW that has no problem putting people over. Someone like a Pac who put over Okada in the world title, in the Continental Championship match at Dynasty, or, even having, one of the matches we're going to talk about tonight, the, Anarchy Arena, the winners there, I'm pretty sure it would have been great to have the other people win, but them getting put over just because it continues the story, or, well, maybe that's not a good example, but you know what I mean? There's wrestlers out there that don't have any problem putting people over, even if they're big name, hell, someone like an MJF, knowing he was hurt, probably didn't want to lose to Samoa Joe, at World's End, but was like, I understand what's good for it, and yeah, okay, I'll put him over, Yeah. But this with Moxley, and don't get me wrong, I love the unhinged Moxley, but it's starting to become stale a little bit with it. And I have nothing against Moxley. I love Moxley. I think he's great. On the mic, I think he's great with the aggressive attitude. But just the constant protection in a match, I don't think he's lost a match in a while, which is saying a lot. So I'm like, it doesn't hurt if he loses a match. Just someone like a Takeshita who comes over here, who to go based on what you said with that report, and like you said, take it with a grain of salt, unhappy. My perspective of that is maybe he's just unhappy with everything going on backstage of the politics backstage, maybe. Because we talk about professional wrestling, there's politics backstage every promotion, and certain people are going to get certain treatment and everything like that, and others are just going to be there and just be used as whatever we got to use you as, when others are like, oh, you're perfect, like this is where we're at, this is where you're going to be, you're perfect. So I kind of take that article 50-50, because I kind of feel like maybe he is unhappy, but it's more so unhappy with what's going on backstage. I don't think he's unhappy with his matches because he's had some good matches with some good people. So I don't think he's unhappy with the wrestling. I think he's unhappy with what's going on backstage and everything going on.
Yeah, no, I agree there. So so I guess we'll see what's next for. But Moxley, he's got to maybe calm down a bit. He's just getting hurt all the time now. His body's starting to wear down, so he's just going to maybe calm things down a bit. But overall, it was a decent match. Again, I was just hoping that Takeshita would come out on top. But the next match that we'll go to, which I thought was, for some people say it's probably potentially the best match of the night, was we had the Rated R superstar Adam Copeland defending the TNT Championship against Malachi Black in a steel cage, or a barbed wire steel cage match, which I think we both agree loved the Brood entrance, which was really cool. I would have loved, I know it couldn't have happened, but I would have loved the original Brood music. To me, the original Brood music is one of my favorite entrance theme songs ever. I just love the beat and everything. It's just so 90s. But I thought this was a good match. Again, the guys were busted open, bleeding, within a few minutes. Had some good spots. I cringe. I do cringe seeing the barbed wire. I don't always think it's necessary. I just think it's so dangerous. But again, guys are willing to do it. They want to do it. I thought there's some really good spots with Malachi kicking Adam out of the ring, which then brought the rest of the House of Black down. And for a moment there, we're like, oh, what's happening? Well, they stood beside, and it was like, wow, right? Oh my God, is this like a change of the guard here, right? And then you see even like Malachi look like in disbelief, and then of course it was just trickery, right? So which is good. Again, some good spots. So I like that. I like that a little bit, that twist there for a sec, because it kind of got you going like, what are we seeing here? And then no. And I was glad. I do like House of Black. I like the team. They're solid guys. So I thought it would have been a bit strange for them to turn on Malachi like that. I loved the best spot of the night with Gangrel, and they actually used Gangrel. I didn't know if that was a copyrighted name of WWE or if he owns that name or what. But I love that he actually came out in the vampire, the old, like the character. He was able to be the character he was supposed to be. I don't think it would have been as successful or impactful if he came out as like whatever his real name is, like, oh, it's like Jim Hamilton. It's Jim Hamilton coming out. You're like, who, right? But whatever his name is, right? But the fact that it's like Gangrel and he's wearing the white shirt and it's him, and he's got the fangs, right? That's the whole point. They wanted that moment, and this is the moment I think everyone wanted to see at WrestleMania. When he was coming out, are we going to get that the Gangrel? But we did it. But so I thought it was done well. And then we had the spot, which again, Adam going up to the top, and you're like, oh God, here we go. Do we really need to do this? Do you really need to prove this? But these guys go nuts, right? And the adrenaline goes. They forget how old they are while they're matching, while they're wrestling. He does like a flying elbow, which, he kind of lands right on his legs. So it's a little bit strange. I don't know if that was what was supposed to happen or if he was just kind of doing that. But again, he, Connor mentioned it in his little clip at the beginning that I thought he broke his leg. I didn't know if it was his ankle or foot. I just heard it broke his leg. But anyways, overall, I thought it was a really entertaining match. I love the Gangrel. I love the guys coming down the House of Black. I thought it was done well. So you know what? I will. I've talked enough about it, but I'll let you give a bit of a review and what you liked and didn't like, and if you think, did Adam really need to be jumping off the top of the steel cage to prove a point?
So I like the match. I think it was one of the better, if not the best match of the night. It could be up there for the world title match that I thoroughly enjoyed. But it was a good match. There were some spots that I was like, ooh, that was a cool spot. Or, ooh, That spot was brutal. Obviously, them both busting open, the blood and all that stuff. Yeah, and the interesting thing with that spot on the top of the cage, for me, when I watched it, it looked like he bailed mid-air on the elbow drop and kind of stood straight instead of bending back to do the elbow.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. I was like, you have padding on the ring, so I don't know why you were worried about taking it and kind of, kicking your legs out and kind of patting yourself here on the hip. I don't know if you had fear of, oh my God, maybe I'll break my hip, whatever, because age has befallen them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, watching him land on his feet, I went like this. I was like, he had to have broken something. I mean, that is a 20-foot drop from the top of the ring, from the cage, at least 20 feet. And so I watched it, and it was just a scary moment. And the fact that that spot happened with still like 10 minutes left in the match, 10 to 15 minutes, and they continued, and then they had the spot in the ring or outside with, House of Black, was amazed. I was like, how is Copeland still going? Like, his legs must be on fire because he had to do something to him. And so it kind of amazed me. But again, they put on a really good match for what it was. Honestly, like I said, this, like we talked about, the spot with House of Black. Even I think I messaged you in our group, in our chat that we had on Sunday while watching it. I was like, do they hook, line, and sinker me? I literally thought they were joining up with Copeland and starting a new group. Like, that would have been the ultimate turn that I would not have expected. Instead of Malachi and those two winning titles, it's Adam Copeland and those two just running amok. But again, boom, hook, line, sinker, the clothesline. I'm like, oh, of course. And then my favorite part was they were kind of getting edgy in the ring because if you remember, Malachi took the barbed wire and makeshifted something and put it on top of Edge. He made a makeshift kind of crown, like the thorn crown of Jesus. Right. Very religious spot there that, oh my God, you're going to offend somebody. Mm-hmm. But I loved it because the House of Black, they're a dark group. They're satanic. Right. Of course they're going to go that route. And honestly, when that happened, I thought it was going to be over right there. Malachi was going to have the House of Black help him win it, and they're going to finish Copeland. But as soon as the light started flickering, I was like, no, he's not there. Because I knew as soon as the light started flickering and all that stuff, I was like, Gangrel's going to show up. I just know it. And then all of a sudden, boom, he pops up from the ring. I'm like, oh my God, they did get Gangrel. And because you got to remember, it's not the first time AEW has brought Gangrel in. If people remember when the Young Bucks feuded with the Hardys, the Young Bucks dressed up as the Hardys one time and brought Gangrel to the ring with them. And so it was not the first time that Gangrel has been on AEW TV. And yes, to answer your question, Matt, he does own that name. Okay. WWE does not own that name. It's his name. He takes it. He owns it. So it's basically how he gets work. It's his name. So, but yeah, no, him showing up and actually, helping Edge. And the fact that Edge was still able to finish that match. I mean, obviously you saw it with Gangrel helping him back to the ring and seeing him limping. I was like, he's limping. I don't think that's a sell. I think he honestly hurt himself from that jump. I thought it was a sell, to be honest. Yeah, and I didn't think it was going to be a serious injury because he was still putting weight on that leg. I was like, he did something. I don't know if it was a strain or something. I didn't think it was going to be a broken thing because he was still moving and stuff like that. So the fact that he was able to finish that match, I hats off to him. Maybe not the best idea, but him as a wrestler, knowing that he's got to keep entertaining that crowd and everything like that, my hat's off to him because he understands it. Now, what this does with his injury, if he's going to be out, like Connor said, 6 to 8 months, I think he said, I don't know what that's going to do with his contract because according to his contract, he signed for 2 years with AEW. So that will take him all the way to... So he signed back in 2023, I believe in November, somewhere around there. He signed 2 years. So that would take him to fall of 2025. So I don't know if they would add time to that because of this injury, because he's going to miss significant time. But again, that's something we'll have to wait and see. And yeah, I do think that this would be a good call to maybe if he's going to vacate that title and them having a series of matches or maybe one set of match. Maybe this would be a good time if you want to keep Malachi in, maybe let him win the title and let him run its course, or, give it to someone that, is up and coming, young, never held the title before. The crowd can get behind and let them win it.
Yeah, I definitely think now that Adam's out, I know Connor mentioned in his little video there that he hoped that they're not going to have a interim champion. I don't see how they don't. You can't have a title like sitting on the shelf for 5-6 months, especially it's one of your main titles that has been defended quite often and is a centerpiece for your for Collision and Rampage. So yeah, I mean, it really sets the stage for a tournament. To your point, I think Malachi would be a good choice to run with it. There's quite a few guys I think that could run with it. So we'll see what happens. Who does it open the door for to put the title on? So it's interesting, but yeah, Nigel McGuinness, he's great. I love his commentary. It's awesome. What did he say? Nigel McGuinness used the phrase "unholy afterbirth" to describe the carnage. Right, the white robes had blood stains all over them, and so did the mat. And these guys were kind of, like they're when you're trying to use barbed wire and they're doing it at the end there, and your hands. I'm like, oh, I just, I get cringe. I cringe with that. But so, anyways, let's move along. And then we had our TBS Championship match where we had Willow Nightingale defending against Mercedes Monet. Actually, I thought Mercedes did quite well. I thought she actually performed really well. She did some really good spots. Really was working like the ankle. Really did a lot of like wrestling moves. She didn't look too rusty from my standpoint. I thought she did pretty well. I thought the match was overall was done well. Is it a surprise that she won the title her first match? I mean, I think part of it, we kind of thought that's the way it was going to go, especially, since it's kind of like because of the way she lost it, over in Japan there and hurt breaking her ankle or, back then, and Willow winning that title back then. So it was only seemed to be fitting that, that they put the belt on her. That's fine. And then we did see the heel turn that we were hoping for with Chris Statlander, excuse me, and Stokely. So that kind of completes that, which I'm glad. I'm glad it's time for a character change. But overall, I thought it was a good match. Willow did a good job. She continues to impress, the fans in AEW, and I don't think this hurts her by losing the title. This will move into this feud that will actually just make Chris Statlander actually interesting, right? And we've all kind of hoped that something was going to happen like this. So I don't know. Actually, the Bleacher Report gave this an A rating, right? So, but I will agree with you, or I guess I agreed with Connor. The finisher didn't quite. I think it's just because Willow's so heavy that it just didn't come across as impactful as it was. I think it's because of the size difference. So, but I'll let you comment on this. And how did you feel about Mercedes winning the title? And how do you feel about the heel turn that we saw at the end of the match?
So this was we all figured this was going to be the foregone conclusion that Mercedes Moné was going to win the TBS title at some point. So this didn't really shock me at all to see her win. And the match itself wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I think Mercedes coming back from the injury and selling a lot of stuff that Willow was throwing at her was very good. She sold the hell out of that powerbomb on the apron. She really did. I thoroughly enjoyed that sell. The fact that she landed like that, slid off the apron, just fell to the ground. Mm-hmm. Perfect sell for that powerbomb. It was great. The fact that also Willow selling that leg, it's just great how both these women can sell, the hurt of it. And so there were some good spots. You saw, Mercedes trying to make some comebacks, but Willow using her power. But of course, when she's trying to do some lifts, that leg gives out, all that stuff. There were a couple of close calls on, maybe Willow pins Mercedes. And then, you had that spot of, I can't remember if it was Chris on the outside, like looking at Stokely for some reason, like, what are you doing? Like this and this. There was a spot in the match. I can't remember which one. But then in the end, that finisher by Monet did look kind of weak. But again, maybe that's because of the size difference. They tried to do their best trying to sell that finisher. As you can see, like, even Willow was like trying to keep her feet up to make it look like, holy crap, Mercedes is strong. But you could see her feet kind of almost fall to the mat trying to help Mercedes. But, maybe Mercedes was like, no, we're good. We'll do this quick, and, hitting that, planning the finish didn't look good. But the fact that Willow got a nice little run with the title, I was very happy. And like you said, she impresses me every week. I think she's a very talented wrestler. I think she's a very talented woman. I think this is a good stuff for her. I mean, she's been having a hell of a last year or so with, winning that women's New Japan title, to, winning the Owen Hart tournament for the female side, to winning the TBS title. So the fact that she's getting all this opportunities and she's running with it, I think it's great. The heel turn, I think a lot of us saw coming, just based on the way, that exclusive footage of Trent whispering something into Chris's ear. That was pretty much the stem of it. After Trent turned heel and attacked Orange, they had the exclusive video in the backstage area of Chris running up to him saying, "What the hell was that? That was your friends." And you just see Trent whisper something into her ear and walk away, and Chris going, kind of taking it in. And so, and actually earlier in the day, there was a photo shoot of Chris and Stokely on like stairs or something like that, taking photos. And Stokely was standing behind her while she was flexing with an evil smile. And someone had posted that and says, if this doesn't confirm her heel turn, I don't know what does. And I laughed at that. I go, that probably does confirm it. And so, when she did turn heel and Stokely, like, at first I thought it was a swerve because the way Chris pursed Stokely, that sold. That was a good sell with there, where she pushed him. You're like, oh, maybe she's not. Maybe just Stokely's done. Maybe they just are pushing Stokely to the side. And then she throws her down, on I go, there it is. Even I went in my chair watching, I go, there it is. There's the heel turn. And so, and even I think you said that too in the message to me. You're like, there it is, the heel turn. So I was like, yeah, no, I knew it. And this is a good push. I think Chris needs a different direction. Since she's lost that TBS title, I think she went stale for a while. So this is a really good direction. I'm kind of excited to see where it goes.
Hey, kind of your point as you were talking there. Do you think we could see Trent Beretta join with Stokely with Statlander? Because they're friends. It's like, and they're kind of like going to the dark side together because they both have that both like frustrated, both going dark, new gear, new attitudes, still continuing a bit of that friendship, but from a dark side, right? That actually could make sense. Because they're friends. Like you said, the whispering, right? It's that kind of the heel turn. And maybe she goes, hey, man, you're lost. Come with us. And he's like, yeah, you're right, right? I think Stokely would be good with Beretta, actually, with both of them.
Yeah, he's a good mouthpiece. He's a good mouthpiece. I think working with both of those, because, again, I don't think Chris or Trent are great on the mic. Their in-ring work is fantastic, but they need a voice. And I think Stokely, as a voice and a manager for those two, I think it sells as a heel group. I think that's exactly what needs to be done. So I'm all in agreement with you.
So another interesting prediction. So we'll see what happens there. So I guess, for the sake of time here, we'll move on to the second last match of the night, which I thought was a pretty entertaining match. Was it the Christian Cage, the head of the Patriarch, as the challenger, taking on Swerve Strickland for the AEW championship. I like it. We're Christian fans. I thought it was a I'm really glad to see that they put Christian, gave him this title shot, and you can see the match. They kind of slowed things down, right? Some of these other matches just went crazy, right? Just boom, 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 right? Like just full gear within seconds. This they did the whole, walking up and very, very smooth and almost slowed down the pace, which is great because that just kind of feels that's Christian's character, and I think that speaks to his experience as well. So it's like, but overall, I thought it was an entertaining match. We knew that there's going to be some interference, which was good. Nice to see. Was it Prince Nana was back, and then again you see it's funny to see him when he had the belt, and he gets thrown out of the match first. But as again, I thought it was pretty entertaining. Entertaining match. The what do we see here? We had Strickland come away with the victory, which I'm sure is no surprise there. And the Bleacher Report actually gave this an A as well. They really thought this match, was good, and I like it. I thought this was also is fitting. It slowed the pace down because again, you had it coming after the big cage match, and then you had it coming after Mercedes winning the women's title. So they had to come with a different pace because this was one match was leading up to the Anarchy in the Arena. So I liked it. I think I like the patriarch. I like the family. I like it, what they're going with it. I'm glad they didn't let it fizzle out. I'm glad they're running with it. But yeah, entertaining. Christian, he always puts on a good match. Again, you had these guys, like how many of these guys, the old guys, were in top matches, right? And this pay-per-view, which is great. So I don't know. I get to get your thoughts on the match. What do you think?
Solid match. Like I said, I think it was tied with Copeland and Malachi as one of the best matches on the card. I think it was just I would say my top three matches obviously were the international title, the steel cage, and this match. The fact that someone like Christian, being the veteran that he is and being as old as he is and being in a top match like this against someone like Swerve was really cool to see. The whole match all around had its moments, from the patriarchy trying to screw around with Swerve and beat him up to getting, Prince Nana thrown out, brilliant move of, having Mama Wayne try to bring the title in and Nana standing there and then getting the ref's attention, throw him out. But then obviously seeing someone on the apron and the ref throwing all three of them out to where it's just one-on-one, I loved it. So then you had some great moments in that match. You had, a lot of near misses, a couple of missed spears. The sprawl back from Swerve from the spear was awesome. I thought it was really cool. The stomp on the table was awesome, on the Spanish announce table. Amazing, because you can hear the clunk of when Christian hits that table. It was just beautiful. And the whole back and forth. And then, the ending where, Swerve gets the cutter from Wayne out of nowhere, but then Nana returns with a pipe. And then Swerve finally finishes off Cage and retains the title. I think the whole match, all the sequences, perfectly well done. I like to see where they go with Christian here next. Obviously, tomorrow night, they did announce that Swerve will wrestle Luchasaurus tomorrow. So I kind of see and expected of Swerve winning that one and kind of making Christian mad at Luchasaurus or Kill Switch, whatever you want to call him, to where, maybe Kill Switch gets berated by Christian in the ring, starts hitting Luchasaurus, and kind of makes Luchasaurus snap and leave the patriarchy and kind of see the downfall of it. At least that's what my prediction is. But it'll be interesting to see where they go with the patriarchy, as well as, who challenge Swerve for the title of Forbidden Door, as they are holding a match, I think, tomorrow night on Dynamite at some point. I think it's tomorrow night. They're holding the gauntlet match to see who challenges for the world title at Forbidden Door. So very interesting to see.
Oh yeah, no, it was good. It was interesting. I did like that. I don't know if you noticed when Christian was going for the spear, and he was definitely in the same position as what Adam does, and he does it crouching and like this. And I was like, oh, that's a bit of a throwback. That's like, he used the spear a lot, right? So I like how they both use it, which kind of to me is that lead up, right? And like there's still that similarities. Now Adam's broken leg is maybe in to change plans, like who knows. who knows what the actual original booking plan was, the long game booking. Are we actually going to receive what we always hoped was a meeting in the tag team back together with the two best friends? Hopefully, we still get to see it. Maybe this put a monkey wrench in this plan, but solid match. What I love about it is they're able to get the crowd so into it, right? And that's skill, and it's awesome. So kudos to the whole to all the competitors in that match to create some good entertainment there. Now, this match. I've never been. I don't really care for these matches, to be honest. These Anarchy, they're running all over the arenas, and I don't need to see any more garbage cans, being picked up and thrown on anybody. Like, I'm kind of over that. You're trying to follow like 4 different camera angles and 4 guys all over the place. Now, there was some craziness with this. I just saw more of the clips from this one because it got really late for me here on the East Coast. I mean, like, I was going to bed at midnight and it was still like, still going strong. But some big spots there, some dangerous stuff. But again, look at the competitors that are in there. We had a flamethrower. We saw Jack Perry getting thrown on fire. As they bring out and they're gonna look like they're gonna beat up Tony Khan. We had Darby hanging from the ring. So not surprising. Again, it's chaos all around. These matches, like they're just crazy. It's just craziness. Anyways, we had the winners. Obviously, with the Elite defeating Team AEW, which was pretty interesting. And actually, the Bleacher Report gave this an A-. I think they gave this one the best mark of the whole night, actually. Yeah, and he said, and Justin Roberts, when he introduced it, and you see he had paused, and then he said, "Welcome to the shit show," right? Which is funny there. So, anyways, I'm good if we don't see one of these for a while. I think there's. Are they? How do you feel about this? Are we done? Are we done with these, or bring it out every once in a while? Do we need an Anarchy in the arena once a year? What do you think?
Yeah, I think you could minimize it. I mean, you don't need to do it all the time. I mean, hell, we just had Anarchy in the arena at Wembley last year, and now just recently up here, and now you got this here. I think you could scale back on it. I will say the match wasn't terrible. It was much better than the FTW match, obviously. But there were some spots that I even giggled at, like the fact that they played the final countdown when Bryan Danielson told them to, and you just see Matthew get on the mic like, cut that music. We're paying $1,200 every time it plays. We're on a budget like that. I laughed. I was like, he's not wrong. Like, you do have to pay for that song every time it plays. So if anybody knows about royalties every time a song plays. So I thought that was funny. The whole undertone of Jack bringing Tony Khan out on the stage, kind of like a throwback of All Out or All In, All Out for or All In, Fear for My Life backstage, but now it's Jack Perry pulling you. There's that kind of undertone to that kind of story. To him being set on fire, I thought was a weird spot. The exploding chair, I never got it. I didn't understand that. The hanging up Darby and then double super kicking him with the shoes with the tacks on it. But another part I laughed at, and this is something I'm huge on, is when the crowd gets really involved and vocal. The chant that they were saying with Darby still hanging, they're like, "Please help Darby. Please help Darby." Like, he's just swinging there and like bleeding from the head, and the crowd's chanting that. I laughed. I was like, that's hilarious. That shit's funny. Because they're like, please help him. Like, he's just hanging there. But yeah, no, I think we both predicted that the Elite needed this win, need that push to kind of progress. The interesting thing is when it went off air, and a lot of people didn't see it, a lot of people shared it online, but after the show went off the air, obviously we talked about, Bryan Danielson in his last year of the contract and pretty much retiring after this year. he's on his farewell tour was basically him giving an emotional, didn't even say anything in the mic, just was out there waving the crowd, giving them his love and support, and them giving it back to him. So I think after that, I think that was a really cool moment that could have been caught on the pay-per-view. But kind of like how, they extended the hours of, the time for when, Sting retired and let him do his speech.
Mm-hmm.
They could have done the same for Bryan Danielson, kind of kept the camera going, like the show going for another 5 minutes to let people at home see that of Bryan Danielson getting that standing ovation. So yeah, that's my take on it.
How did you like Harwood and Wheeler wearing long tights?
Interesting. It's a rarity you see them wear those for a while, and so, but even then, like I felt like they were hardly involved in this match whatsoever. I feel like most of the focus was on Jack, Darby, Danielson, and the Bucks. I feel like FTR was kind of in the background. They got beat up a little bit, and then they were just down. So, but I did enjoy the long tights that they wear because you never get to see them wear those.
Yeah. Did you? I just reading a point here, and I don't know if you saw it or heard it. The point here was Harwood looked like he was busted open by a beer can thrown by a dumb fan who was hopefully kicked out. Did you see that? I mean, I know they were stopping and drinking a lot of beer, and they were just trying to drink. There's a lot of drinks being taken from fans and all over the place, and guys were doing all that. But I didn't see that. Did you hear about that? Like someone throwing a beer can? Like,
no, I do know the spot when they're up in the concessions areas, and Dax cheered those 2 drinks, drank and threw it at I think it was Matthew, or it might have been Nicholas. It might have been Nicholas, and he threw the cups at Nicholas and continued the arena. I didn't see a beer can. I thought it was from something else in the match that they cut him open with. I don't remember seeing a beer bottle or anything hitting him in the head at all.
But overall, I think it was a pretty entertaining pay-per-view. I think in total, it said it was from the buy-in hour to the final. It was like 6 hours altogether, right?
Long, yeah.
It gets a bit long, but as long as they keep it to, I mean, they're really pushing this pay-per-view as, again, it is really the cornerstone. It's what has started it all. I do love when guys and girls are wearing different gear. To show how special things are. Actually, the Bleacher Report gave the pay-per-view a B+. Now, overall, would you agree with that rating?
So I gave it initially. I had given it somewhere in the 8s, which is kind of in the B. The only reason I did that was a couple of reasons. One, Okada and Ospreay. Or not Okada, Ospreay, the cage match, MJF return. I mean, some of that stuff was, and then, obviously the one thing that I hadn't touched yet that I really loved that a lot of people, I don't know if they know, the Warrior entrance that freaking Swerve had. Prince Nana with the bottles. If nobody knows what the Warriors is, it is an old movie about gangs in Coney Island, and you need to watch it. It's corny as hell, but my God, is it a cult classic. And him coming out to that, I was like, oh, like I did that. Like in a weird way when I saw Nana with the bottles and doing it, I was like, Warriors. I was like, Warriors come out to play. I lost it. So yeah, so I gave it that just based on all that stuff. So I gave it somewhere in the 8s.
Yeah, I like those little things. I thought there was some extra entertainment, some extra spots. They did treat it like a special pay-per-view, which was nice. And this is definitely one of the pillars of pay-per-views, you can see for AEW. So I thought the crowd was into a great crowd, a lot of really good matches. So, I would actually agree with a B+. I liked some of the surprise returns, some of the heel turns, some of the, there's some good spots. So again, I guess with the Bleacher Report saying the only major complaint one could levy is the runtime. If you count the pre-show and the event, it was just over 6 hours long, but to AEW's credit, it was an easy 6 hours because it moved along at a brisk pace. So it's true. It wasn't like a yawner where you're like, oh my God, like when is this over? So anyways, yeah, that was good. I mean, look how long it took us. We're over an hour and a half here on the show. Like, so it took us an hour and a half to go through a 6 hour pay-per-view to review. Yeah. So I guess that explains us. But you know what? It was a great show, and we'll be looking forward to the next one, and then tomorrow night, we'll see what happens. Women's
Yeah,
just
and if you
storylines
don't mind, I
tomorrow
do
night.
want to break in a little bit with a couple of headlines that have happened tonight because a lot of stuff, there's a lot of newsworthy stuff that just happened.
Sure.
Obviously,
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
talked about it. Ethan Page is now with WWE. He did debut tonight on NXT, attacking Trick Williams, the NXT champion. Apparently, that's what he's aiming for at the end of the show. He was holding up the NXT title, so he's been playing in that. So just think about that now. Brian Pillman Jr. and Ethan Page, former AEW guys, are now over in WWE and NXT.
And the
Also,
chairman, when
and the
I know
chairman
I
Sean
know
Spears,
he was, I know he was
also tonight, word is that Jordan Grace, the TNA Knockouts champion, will also challenge NXT Women's Champion at their WWE's NXT's next pay per view. So that crossover continues with TNA and WWE. What that means with the relationship between AEW and TNA, we don't know because I know they had a working relationship at one point. So we're going to have to see with that. And then finally, as part of the report here, it looks like Jake Hager will no longer be moving forward with AEW as his contract was recently expired and he did not re-sign. So as of right now, Jake Hager is a free agent. So those are a couple of the headlines that I had for everybody.
Interesting. That's great. Well, Adam, before we sign off, we like to always give your show on Thursday night a bit of a plug, and you always have some great concepts, that you always run through. So, anything special that's coming up for this Thursday yet?
We are going to go over defunct wrestling promotions. It's going to be a fun topic. I was thinking about topics over the weekend, and I was just thinking about that, about what promotions, like in my head, I'm like, which promotions I used to watch that you don't see anymore, or you read about, or you heard about that aren't around anymore. So that'll be the topic for Thursday.
Very good. I'm sure it's going to be a great show. So, everyone tune in to Adam's show on Thursday night. But great. You know what? As we wrap up, great to have another show with you and a great review. And, we've got some more great wrestling that's going to be happening. So we'll see tomorrow night on Dynamite what happens as they kind of do a bit of a reset on some of these storylines now, right? Which is always nice after the pay-per-views to see what's actually happening next as they build, I guess, the Forbidden Door is the next pay-per-view. Which we saw advertised during the pay-per-view the other night there. So anyways, it's great. We went way over our time, but we had so much to talk about, so much to review. It was a pleasure. Thanks for everyone who was watching, and thanks for everyone for the comments. Always appreciate it. Please tell all your family and friends to join and give us some likes and subscribe on the channel. So thanks very much, and we'll do it again next Tuesday night here on YouTube.
Goodbye, guys.
Cheers. Thanks, everyone.